Everyone together, a little louder, please. One more time again. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama one more time again, a little louder. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare One more time, a little louder with your heart. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Time, a little louder. Hare Krishna. One more time again, a little louder.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So I welcome all of you to His Holiness Candramauli Swami daily class. And today Maharaj will continue in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 1, verse 34. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
My obeisances, glories to Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
So Maharaj, if it's okay, I will share the screen with verse 34.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, Maharaj, very clearly.
Okay, good.
Over to you, Maharaj.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Isashakesham Vidura Ambuvahan Vasta Sadyam Kuruvarya Bhumnaha Avyaktamahurudayam Manascha Satrandrama Sarva Vikara Koshaha. Translation. O best among the Purus, the clouds which carry are the hairs on his head, which carry water are the hairs on his head. The termination of days and nights are his dress. And the supreme cause of material creation is his intelligence. His mind is the moon, the reservoir of all changes. So here's a further description of the universal form, the Virat Root, connecting with the different parts of the Lord's transcendental body. Next verse. Jnana Shaktim Mahim Amanati Sarvatmanartha Haranam Giritram Asvasvatar Yustra Yajanaktani Sarve Mrigad Pasava Shroni Dese. The principle of matter, Mahatattva, is the consciousness of the omnipresent Lord as asserted by the experts, and Rudradev is his ego. The horse, mule, camel, and elephant are his nails, and the wild animals and all the quadrupeds are situated in the belt zone of the Lord. Now we're getting into a more of a specific description in terms of the different living entities which represent different parts of the Virat Rupa. Next verse. Vayamsita Vyakanaram Vichitram Manomani Sam Manujo Nivasaha Gandharva Vidyadhara Charanam Saraha Swara Smitir Asuranika Viraha. Now we get into the demigods and the demons. Varieties of birds are indications of his masterful artistic sense. Manu, the father of mankind, is the emblem of his standard of intelligence, and humanity is his residence. The celestial species of human beings, like the Gandharas, Vidyadharas, Janaras, and angels, all represent his musical rhythm, and the demonic soldiers are representations of his wonderful prowess. Purport. The aesthetic sense of the Lord is manifested in the artistic, colorful creation of varieties of birds like the peacock, parrot, and cuckoo. The celestial species of human beings like Gandharvas and Vidyadharas can sing wonderful and can entice even the minds of the heavenly demigods. The musical rhythm represents the musical sense of the Lord. How then can he be impersonal? His musical taste, artistic sense, and standard intelligence, which is never fallible, are different signs of his supreme personality of God, his supreme personality. The Manu Samhita is the standard law book for humanity, and every human being is advised to follow this great book of social knowledge. Human society is the residential quarters for the Lord. This means that the human being is meant for God realization and association with God. This life is a chance for the conditioned soul to regain his eternal God consciousness and thus fulfill the mission of life. Maharaj Prahlad is the right type of representative of the Lord in the family of Asuras. None of the living beings is away from the Lord's gigantic body. Each and every one has a particular duty and relationship to the Supreme Body. Disruption in the matter of discharging the specific duty assigned to each and every living being is the cause of disharmony between one living being and another. But when the relation is reestablished in relation with the Supreme Lord, there is complete unity between all living beings, even up to the limit of the wild animals in human society. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu displayed this living unity in the jungle of Madhya Pradesh, where even the tigers, elephants, and many other ferocious animals perfectly cooperated in glorifying the Supreme Lord. This is the way of peace and amity all over the world. Gyantimirandasya Gyanajana Salakaya Chaksun Militamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Ma Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Paschatya Densitarne Vanchakalpa Tarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Paevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this purport and translation somewhat patterns the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna describes himself as the best within each category of human existence and outside of human existence. So, in other words, the best in all of the creative aspects of existence. He mentions different persons, different characteristics, different elements of the material energy, which are powerful in a certain aspect of itself. In other words, there's a certain quality about that entity that is outstanding. Like he says, of immovable objects are in the Himalayas. These are powerful mountains that are obviously immovable. And then he goes on to describe himself in different ways, representing different elephants, horses. And so here we're seeing a similar description. And this is just to give a sense that everything you see, both great in nature and outside of the standard understanding of greatness, is ultimately a reflection of the Lord's characteristic and qualities, particularly his greatness aspect. So when we see here, it's mentioned that there are beautiful birds, such as the peacock. So that represents his artistic ability in the aesthetic sense. The parrot. I saw one beautiful parrot one time in Toronto, Canada. It was beautiful. It was so many different colors, part of his feathers, his beak. Everything was more like a rainbow arrangement. And of course, the cuckoo is considered the most sweetest of all birds when he sings. And sometimes it's compared to Srimati Radharani. When she sings, she has a voice like a cuckoo. So all of these connections in an analogous way reflect the quality of the Lord in different aspects of his personality and his characteristics. So this is meant to help us see that within everything there is a personality behind. Nothing is impersonal. Impersonal means the energy of the person, but not necessarily the person himself. The energy sometimes can be impersonal, just like we might say the energy of the sun is the sunshine, so that the sun is actually localized in one place. And that's also described in that for every planet, there is a being who rules the planet. There is the sun god. Prabhupada would always mention his name is Vivaswam. But he, in one sense, manages the sun. And as that's management there, that light comes out in different areas of the creation. And that light is considered more like the energy of the sun, not the sun itself, although we sometimes say that the sun is in my room, referring to the sunshine, which is the energy of the sun. So many times we refer to the energy in relationship to the source as being the same. And from the absolute point of view, it is. There's the source and the energy, and they cannot be separated. So here, in a more detailed, in a more what we say, colorful arrangement, artistic arrangement, we're seeing the different personalities who represent different characteristics. Here it says the demoniac soldiers were very powerful and very you might say, very brave in fighting, are his Krishna's prowess. So even something like demoniac, which is contrary to bhakti, still it's a representative of the material energy in the form of certain personalities who represent prowess, musical rhythm, intelligence, his resonance, his artistic sense. Everything is there, is in a pattern of helping persons who are not engaged in bhakti or are not able to take to the process of bhakti. They can understand Krishna in relationship to the material energy, so connecting the energy with the source of energy, because nowhere do you find a manifestation of creation or energy that doesn't have a source. And when you look for the source in the material sense, based on these descriptions, you can't find it. You have to say that there's something more powerful and more complete than simply another person. It is a person, but it's the supreme person who can exhibit his qualities in a very beautiful and very attractive way to the conditioned souls. And so this is for the persons who are unable, for whatever reason. I mean, it's even mentioned in earlier purports, even for the atheists. Atheism doesn't have any philosophy of itself. Atheism is due to a sense of negativity and has no rationale. There's no philosophy for atheism. Although there are people who create philosophies based on atheism because they can't connect what they see to a source of that same object. And so they say, well, it is in of itself, just like the scientists. They like to say that when matter combines itself in a certain way, it produces another element of matter also, similar to the combination. But then again, who mixes it? And how is it mixed in a certain way that it has a certain designed effect or design designation? So obviously there is intelligence beyond that. Intelligence indicates personality, and personality indicates activity. So ultimately there is no basis to those who say God does not exist, because there's no philosophy of that. It's just most of the people who take to atheism usually have a bad experience in life with fulfilling their desires for enjoyment. Or they have a catastrophe in their life and they say, if God was there, then why didn't he do something to avert the catastrophe? And therefore they petition God to become their servant, to carry out their desires. And when it doesn't happen, they say, well, that shows there is no God. But God is not anyone's servant. He is the person to be served. And material energy is working under his direction. So it's how one connects with the material energy that one will get a certain result from that. So when catastrophes or calamities or so-called horrible things come, it's simply due to wrong desire and wrong activities on the part of the living beings involved. And therefore they plug into and acquiesce the lower modes of material energy, which are in the mode of destruction, which is the mode of ignorance. So it has nothing to do with the Lord. He simply sets up the program, and it works according to his arrangement. But he has a higher arrangement, and that is he wants all living entities to come back to him in loving devotional service. But those who refuse to accept that arrangement are subjected to the laws of material energy, and therefore their life is a combination of different types of results based on the type of desires they have. Once in a while, they get something that is satisfactory. Many times they get something that is unsatisfactory or less satisfactory. Or sometimes they get a combination of both of these, satisfying and unsatisfying at the same time. So, yeah, this is because they accept the material energy as all in all. But here we can see that the material energy is represented for those who have knowledge of the different characteristics that make up the quality and personality of the Supreme Lord like that. And that's nicely described in different sections, particularly in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita here also in this nice arrangement. So let's go on to the next verse. Okay. Brahmananam Shatra Bhuya Mahatmam Vid Avur Angur Srita Krishna Varnaha Nama Vidya Vidya Gano Papano Dvavya Makam Karmam Vikani Yogaha. The Rupa's face is the Brahmanas. His arms are the Kshatriyas, his thighs are the Vaishyas, and the Sudras are under the protection of his feet. All the worshipful demigods are also overtaken by him, and it is the duty of everyone to perform sacrifice with feasible goods to appease the Lord. Purport. Monotheism is practically suggested here. Offering sacrifice to many demigods under different names is mentioned in the Vedic literature. But the suggestion made in this verse is that all those varieties of demigods are included in the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are only the parts and parcels of the original whole. Similarly, the divisions of orders of human society, namely Brahmanas, the intelligent class, Kshatriyas, the administrators, the Vaishyas, the mercantile community, and the Sudras, the laborer class, are all included in the body of the Supreme. As such, sacrifice by every one of them in terms of pleasing the Supreme by feasible goods is recommended. Generally, the sacrifice is offered with clarified butter and grains, but with the progress of time, human society has produced varieties of goods by transforming material supplied by God's material nature. Human society, therefore, and this is in italicized here, therefore must learn to offer sacrifice not only with clarified butter, but also with other manufactured goods in the propagation of the Lord's glory, and that will bring about perfection in human society. So here's the key to how to live. The intelligent class of men or brahmanas may give direction for such sacrifice in consultation with the previous acharyas. The administrators may also give facility to perform self-sacrifice. The Vaishya class or mercantile community who produce such goods may offer them for sacrifice, and the Sudra class may offer their manual labor for the successful termination of such sacrifice. Thus, by the cooperation of all classes of human beings, the sacrifice recommended in this age, namely the sacrifice of congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord, may be executed for the common welfare of all people of the world. A nice description here on how the different Swadharma personalities, those who have these natures, should use their nature in the service of the Lord in a cooperative way with the other three. Those who give spiritual vision and guidance, those who administer those who supply, and those who assist. And we have these four classes, and this is called Varna. And of course, when you connect it with ashram, then you have the Varnashram system for activities of the different personalities along with four ashrams. But that's material. Srila Prabhupada's vision for developing our ISKCON society was to set up an educational institution wherein people would attend and they would be guided and administered by the brahmanas, and they would teach the different varnas to the different students that would come. And then there will be a program of evaluation and education first, and then evaluation, and then designation. So then the Brahmins would see, oh, this person has Brahminical characteristics, then he can be engaged in Brahminical activities. And the Kshatriyas like that. Not everyone will become a Brahmin, although Srila Prabhupada, in building his society initially, wanted to bring everyone up to the Brahmin class. But that was just to get the society moving in the right direction. Then, in 1974, Srila Prabhupada introduced this, what we call Daivi Varnashram. These four classes would be engaged in devotional service according to their category, and using the, as it says here, all the feasible goods that are available within society to be the offerings to the Lord. And the word cooperation here is very essential to understand. You see, using the example of a human body, with the different parts of the body cooperate ultimately to appease the stomach. The stomach gets the food. The hand has to put the food into the mouth in order for the stomach to get it. The mind, the brain has to go out and hunt down or get the food using its ability to secure what's needed and administered by the hands, and the belly gets to, and then because the belly gets it, then the legs can move and do nice work. So we see, using the pattern of a human body, there is cooperation amongst the different parts in order for the natural function of the human body. So we say that the social body also breaks down into these four categories, and when engaged in devotional service in a cooperative way, and that word cooperation is very important. We see within our present society that people have these tendencies and are working there. But how much of is there a cooperation between the different varnas in relationship to the execution of devotional service? That's there. But how much is it developed? But if one wants to become independent, if the Kshatriyas claim because they are the administrators, they don't need any guidance from the Brahmanas, then you have competitions among the Kshatriyas on who's going to decide how things go. And then cooperation breaks down. Or you might say cooperation never gets established. Well, these are the different arrangements in a cooperative way to propagate Krishna consciousness. And when a person is working according to their nature, because everyone has what is called swadharma, material nature, but of course in Kali Yuga, that nature is buried by the contamination of this age. And therefore education and evaluation and designation in the form of an institution is required in order to sort out and designate and engage people accordingly in a cooperative way. And if that is there, then those persons who are working according to their nature derive great satisfaction and at the same time make great contributions in their activities they perform, both to the social body and, of course, in devotional service also. That's Srila Prabhupada's in 1977, when Prabhupada was in his last year. In the month of February, he spoke about this and how important it was to actually, get involved in organizing our society according to this Daivi Varnashram. And when he left the world, he said, 50% of my mission is unfulfilled. I haven't established Daivi Varnashram. So he left it for us to do. It's happening in some places, in other places, there's not been any discussion about it. So as a worldwide society, we see that some are picking up on it and doing wonderful service, and others are focusing on other things which are important, but are not on the foundation which allows for the devotees to experience their qualities and use those qualities in a very wonderful way, which helps to develop those qualities more and more. And then the devotee becomes creative in whatever service they're doing also, according to their nature. Okay, so we'll stop here and see if there's any discussion.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you for highlighting the whole need of this Devi Varnashram and also Lord's universal form. Devotee, if you have any questions, comments, realization, I request you to please raise your hand, or you can type in chat window and I can read on your behalf.
Go on.
And
I'll say
also
full
request
screen.
everybody to please
Yes,
switch on your video, but that
Where-
provides a
where
nice
all of these
view
are
to
down, yeah.
Maharaj.
Oh, yeah, view, hit the view up there.
So whoever can switch on the video, that will be really great.
This is the view. This thing
Thank
here.
you.
Yeah. I'm gonna hit, let's see, it's gallery. Maybe, yeah, okay. Hare Krishna.
So Hare Krishna Maharaj, by the time devotee ask any question, I have one question at my end, Maharaj. So Sukadev Goswami has very nicely explained the gigantic form of Lords and everything. In fact, as you said, mentioned that chapter 10, chapter 11 of Bhagavad Gita, or like this particular chapter, everything, whatever we see in this universe or in this world is kind of part and parcel of Lord. So
Not kind of, it is.
it is, yes, like, yes, Maharaj, thank you, yes. So
There's nothing outside of his energy.
yeah, really, like nothing left outside this, Maharaj. So the real takeaway for all of us as a aspiring devotee is that uh, whatever we see in this world, we should be very careful that we should not misuse. Second thing, we should be focusing towards the end of this session, as you mentioned, and also Sukhdev Goswami and Prabhupada, that whole energy for us, we should focus in the gradual progression of devotional service. Is that the two key takeaway, Maharaj? Or of course, there are so many others.
Yeah, that's in essence, yeah. But when you realize there's nothing outside of Krishna, there's only one thing left to do: surrender to Krishna. Stop surrendering to Maya. Maya is simply Krishna's energy anyway, but it's that energy where you get different types of results that are not necessarily pleasing or even beneficial. Maya is like the jailer And Krishna is like the place where you can live happily. The jail is also in the community of the society, but the jail is not a place for finding satisfaction, peace, and happiness. But Maya is there for those who don't want to follow the laws of God or live according to the laws of God. And so she engages them in another type of, and then these activities that bring about inauspicious or what we say undesirable results. So yeah, when this universal form teaches you that there's nothing outside of God, just surrender. So then the question is, well, what do you mean by surrender? And surrender means give up your own ideas on how you think you can be happy and just follow Krishna and the spiritual master. That's what that verse means. Sarva dharma pariksha jamame kamsalamam. That's mentioned in Narada Bhakti Sutras, wherein Narada Muni explains this verse. He says, what does it mean, Sarva, to give up all varieties of religion? And he gets it very specific. He says, this means give up all of your own ideas, how you think you can be successful in life or happy in life. You just surrender to Krishna, that's all. He'll take care of you. He'll guide you through his representative. But we're still egoistic and too stubborn to do that. So Krishna said, all right, I'll wait until you get tired. The question?
It's a little continuation instructions of one of the Mahajas, Vishnudev, how to easily transfer this.
Okay. I'll bring it up when there's no question. Any other? We have something here from, oh, okay, Sri Devi.
Yes, Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, as you were speaking and talking about Srila Prabhupada's vision, what came to my mind was when all these things actually are put into place in the future, what a different society we will have, because we will be producing our own food, we'll be growing our own cloth, we'll be having our own parallel economy where everyone is satisfied and happy and progressing nicely. Everyone will have a chance to utilize all their talents and skills and propensities in Krishna's service. There will be peace and prosperity and blossoming of every Hare Krishna devotee. And that's what is going to be the future. And that's what is going to change the world. Because when people see devotees being very happy in their Krishna consciousness and very nice society being there, then they will be more and more attracted to our movement.
Yeah. So the indication of your question is that we have to get it together.
Yes.
Okay. I agree.
Okay.
I mean, Prabhupada told us, and he made a sweeping statement. He said, we could take over the whole world. In other words, we can make the whole world Krishna consciousness in 18 days, but he said, you're not ready. In other words, he told us when he was here that Krishna consciousness is so direct and so powerful, it's enunciated by the Supreme Lord directly. But it takes cooperation on our level for it to manifest. And if we cooperate, it'll manifest fast, very fast. But because we don't cooperate, or we cooperate up to a certain degree, it works according to that degree. So yeah. So this Varnashram system allows for people to be able to happily engage in service, not like we have to accept service in a way that, okay, well, it needs to be done, so I'll do it. There'll be all the services will be covered according to the different, because within those four categories, three categories actually, Brahman, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, all services are covered. Both social, political, ecclesiastical, they're all, everything is covered within those three. But it has to be done in a cooperative way. Cooperation comes when there is visionary leadership to mobilize all of these energies into a program of development. And that Prabhupada has given the blueprint. He spelled it out in a very detailed way. And then it's up to us to, carry it out. On a microcosm, a very small microcosm, there is groups that are actually working in that way. But then when you look at it from a bigger picture, you see there's a lot of lack in many areas. So yeah, well, what you say is the goal actually. There's no question of separating material from spiritual. All of it becomes one in execution of our activities. We're doing our material propensities and offering it in service to the Lord. Therefore, devotional service is going on, and all of the necessities that we need in order to live in this world is automatically being accomplished through these three varnas. Mm-hmm. It's a perfect system because it's coming. Krishna says, Chaturvanya Mahasrishna Gunakarma Vibhagasa. I created the system. He said it. I created it. So obviously, whatever's created by the Supreme Lord is obviously perfect. The application, that takes some intelligence out of applying. Intelligence in leadership that gives the vision on how to apply it in different places, such as in rural places, in urban places, in places that are in between these two, may be slightly different in terms of application, but the principles are the same.
Shridevi Mataji, you have some connecting question, please. All right.
Manaso Deho
Actually,
Geho.
I think Amrita Nam has got her hand before me. I can wait.
Sure, Mataji. Sorry, Maharaj, you were saying something. I interrupted.
I was mentioning one song sung by Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Manaso Deo Geho, Yo Kichu More, Arpilun to Alpade Nanda Kishore. Now he's praying to the Lord, my home, my family, my possessions, my very existence, it belongs to you. Therefore, he's also learned the science of how to give everything back to the Lord. Alpade Nandikisha. Sampade Vipade Jivana Marane. Dai Mama Gela tu Opada Marane. Madhupira Kopi Joye Chita Haram Nitya Das Pratutua Arikara Janmo Bimo Ichil Jarator Bhakti Grihe Jana Janma Hoymor. And here, this one is the ultimate surrender. Hita Janmo Hata Tuadas Bahir Mukta Brahma Janma Nahi As. You can go to the translation. Okay, somebody can read?
Mind, body, and family, whatever may be mine, I have surrendered at your lotus feet, O youthful son of Nanda. In good fortune or in bad, in life or at death, all my difficulties have disappeared by choosing those feet of yours as my only shelter. Slay me or protect me as you wish, for you are the master of your eternal servant. It is, if it is your will that I will be born again, then may it be in the home of your devotee. May I be born again even as a worm, so long as I may remain your devotee. I have no desire to be born as a Brahma averse to you. I yearn for the company of that devotee who is completely devoid of all desire for worldly enjoyment or liberation. Father, mother, lover, son, lord, preceptor, and husband, you are everything to me. Thakur Bhakti Vinoda says, O Kana, please hear me. O Lord of Radha, you are my life and soul. Hare Krishna.
The heartfelt offering to the Lord, complete surrender. Gita Jammo Atatu complete surrender. I have no desire of my own. You, you can do whatever you want with me. I belong to you. But always give me a chance to be a devotee life after life, even if I have to come back. So that's an example of complete surrender. Total surrender. There's not an iota of personal motivation. Well, we may not be able to come to that level of surrender, but we should actually try to follow the principles that's given by the acharyas for the organization of our Krishna consciousness in such a way is that we can actually contribute to the propagation of Krishna consciousness by our service and by our devotion. Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj. Amta Namataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept humble obeisances. Oh, glories to Srila Prabhupada. Such a wonderful poem by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Oh, I was so lost. It was amazing.
Yeah, it takes you to another level.
Yes, it was amazing. It just hit right to the heart. I mean, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I mean, there's no other substitute for him. Oh God. Okay. My question was, there is already a mindset in the society for the varnashram system. So, especially if you talk about the Indian culture, it has been really distorted. I mean, the varnashram system in the name of caste and all these things. There's a distorted system from so many years. So now, when we talk about this Devi Varnashram, of course, full idea, but then a son born in say doctor's family, if he is having some very amazing Shudra skills, and if he tries to execute that according to his nature, he will be really down scenes in that matter, and this is creating a friction somewhere to apply this thing, this concept of varnashram system.
Yeah.
So yeah, so this I feel practical when I see it practically in the society, this kind of friction I see to the application of varnashram system.
Yeah,
So
you
how
hit
can
on a very essential point, that
yeah.
people's the conception of birth and tradition within the certain family forces those who come in that family to follow in that same way. Although the proclivities may be different, just like we see. I mean, Prahlad Maharaj was born in a demoniac family, but he had all saintly qualities. And his father tried to make him a demon, but because he was so devoted to the Lord, his father was unsuccessful. But you see that in a lot in life, that follow what the family tradition, even though your tendencies are different. There was one very big um, rich family in India. I won't mention the name, everybody knows them. Their son, who was a teenage boy, later teens, committed suicide. I mean, the family was, filthy rich. They were so rich. And they were shocked, family members, so much so that they went around the world meeting different sadhus and people who they wanted to get advice. Why, when a boy of that age has everything he can imaginable given to him by his birth, why would he give up his life? Finally, they came to ISKCON, and one of our leading sannyasis really explained things in such a way that closed the door on their inquiry. And they showed that actually, because you haven't given them Krishna, he's not satisfied. You haven't given him what he really is hankering for, devotion to the Lord. So yeah, they either force it materially as opposed to spiritually, or they force it materially in a certain way as opposed to other tendencies that may be prominent in the person for material activities. So yeah, that's the abrogation of the Varnashram system, which is now called the caste system. But in Narada Muni, I can't remember the verse, Prabhupada quotes it quite often. Lakshanam means more or less ornamentations, or what we say characteristics. A person has to be judged by their characteristics and activities, and not so much by birth or family tradition. So yeah. A good point.
Thank you.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur fought against that tooth and nail. Bhakti Siddhanta followed also. And Prabhupada, Prabhupada showed that even people from Western countries who were born in what we say Malecha families, Yavanas and Malechas, if they take the Krishna consciousness, they can actually attain the perfection of life. Kiratu hunam palinda pukasa habir sambhav kasyadaya. Yeah. Yanetya papa upasrayasraya siddhanti prabhavishnave namaha. Yeah, it's a beautiful verse in the second. You will come across it in the second canto as we continue. I believe it's in the 9th chapter of the second canto. So yeah, It's by quality and activity, not by birth.
Thank you, Gumaj. I think this is since this is given by Krishna himself, the Varnashram system is given by Krishna himself. At any level, it may be at the level of Brahmin or it may be at the level of Shudra. It is pure at all the levels. So it should be put very delicately how Prabhupada wanted, because
The downfall of the Varnashram system is the perversion of the Brahminical class.
yes,
When the Brahmins, started to consider themselves to be superior to all the other classes and were putting down those who are born in Sudra families. Prabhupada talks about this and how the Muslim population proliferated in India because of that. That those who are Sudras, Hindus, born in that culture, they weren't given any rights, and therefore they were ousted by their own society, and therefore they took to Islam because at that time, I forget who was ruling. It might have been Aurangzeb or somebody. It wasn't Aurangzeb. It was after him. They were offering anybody who converts to Islam would get so many benefits. So they weren't getting any benefits. Just like it says that the Brahmins, if they would go to the door of their home and look outside, if they see a Sudra, simply by seeing a Sudra, they would have to come in and take a complete bath and wash their whole house with kelda just by seeing a Sudra. Now, this was crazy. It's fanatic. The person each has their designation and each has their activity accordingly, and it works together as a cooperative system. That's why we need the Sudras just as much as we need the Brahmanas. Of course, the Brahmanas give the direction.
exactly,
The Sudras,
Gumaj.
yeah, everyone plays their part.
Right.
And that's why
Everybody has their role to play.
Yeah, the Prabhupada set up this system of Varnashram college, which we're not doing, to evaluate people and understand what is their material nature. Once that evaluation is understood, and then engaging them accordingly. So that's not being done. I mean, we don't find any. We found one ashram college, one or two appeared in our society. Now it's ad hoc. People are working according to their nature, but they're doing it on their own. And it's called a loose form of the Varnashram system that's being, what we say, played out in ISKCON right now, at best. And of course, there's a lot of things that are still incomplete, but that's the best part of it. Anyway.
Yes, Gumaj. Then we can come to the point of loving each and every soul, if we are clear on this. Yeah.
Yeah, because every soul is part and parcel of Krishna, and everyone has a role in
Yes.
serving Krishna.
Yes. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Sri Devi, you have a question?
Shri Mataji,
Guru
please go
Maharaj,
ahead.
to continue on this theme of Varnashram, Srila Prabhupada said these 4 classes are there everywhere. Even when Prabhupada went to Russia, he said all these 4 classes are there everywhere. So this is not artificial. This is coming, as Amritanam pointed out, it's coming from Krishna. So it is already existing in human society. All we have to do is add Daivi Varnashram and then everyone can act according to their propensities, and we can have a regulated human society that is organized nicely,
Yeah,
so
but it
that
has to
all
be done.
four.
Yeah, yeah, there has to be education because people are born Sudra in this age, Kalo Sudra Sambhavan. Without that educational system, you can't really evaluate properly what is the designation or what is the varna of a person.
Information.
Inclination. Yeah. Without that system of education, and so, but Prabhupada gave a more like a very simplified idea. He writes in the first canto in the first, I can't remember which chapter. He said it's the duty of the spiritual master to observe his disciples and see what is their nature and engage them according to that nature. So using the spiritual master as the microscope or telescope to see what is the nature. But, when people go to work, they work, if you're going to work for the secular society, then money becomes the motivation rather than the activity. And if you get a good job, a high-paying job, if you can fit into that slot that is required, it doesn't matter if it's my nature or not. I'm making a lot of money. That's all I care about. Well, there's a nice book if you want to. It's really hard to go through. It's called Career Dharma by Urmila and Rukmini, two very senior ladies in that society. It's about 500, 600 pages. And they talk about secular varnashram and how devotees fit into the different categories and how the different categories overlap. It's quite philosophical. It's very, you might say, it takes some patience to get through that book. But it's got a lot of interesting points, which kind of put a lens on what is today's activities that are going on, both in the secular society and in the ISKCON society also. It's nicely done. But yeah. So we're trying to do something in Mayapur right now. Setting up a Vanashram college there. Bhakti Raghava Swami has been talking about that and working towards that for the last 20, 30 years. So we have leaders who are very much fixed on developing this system more and more. And Prabhupada said they can only be done at the farm communities. It cannot be done in the cities. Cities are too mixed up. That's why we're pushing this idea of simple living. Once you get people back to a more simple lifestyle, then Varnashram becomes much easier to implement.
So, Maharaj, there are two questions on the chat related to Varnashram. Partly it's answered, but maybe it's better if I can read, if it's okay with you. So, first one is from Bhaktin Boni. She is asking that how does the idea of the world becoming beautiful through advanced Varnashram align with the Kali Yuga getting worse and more degraded?
Let's repeat that again.
Yeah, so her question is how does the idea of world becoming beautiful through advanced Varnashram align with Kali Yuga getting worse and more degraded?
Well, two things are going on simultaneously. Krishna consciousness is spreading. My Kali Yuga is exhibiting more of its features. It's happening. There are many amazing things happening around the world, even among some of the secular people, but at the same time, you'll find that wars, pestilence, enmity amongst nations are increasing everywhere. The world is preparing for war right now. I can even give you information which I won't speak about because some of this is kind of shocking. What's happening around the world? They're getting ready for war. They're actually getting ready for war. Not just the major countries that are involved, but other countries also. Because everyone is expecting it, soon. So that's happening. That's a feature of Kali Yuga. That's the ugly face of material existence. But at the same time, Krishna consciousness is spreading. How fast Krishna consciousness is spreading in relationship to how much Maya is taking over areas. I'd say we're still behind Maya a little bit, maybe a lot, but it's happening. Prabhupada has said it. If we just do Harinam Sankirtan all around the world, the whole world will change. That's all. And that's a fact. Prabhupada was talking, I was just listening yesterday. They can't stop the Sankirtan movement. No government, no politician, no society can stop the Sankirtan if the devotees are united. But the business of the demons and those who work against spirituality is to create disunity amongst spiritual people, because they know once spiritual people are united, then they're finished. So their strategy is to create disunity. So we should always adhere to Srila Prabhupada's clear instructions and the directions on how to carry them out. He gave everything. Yay. Anything else? I have something here I'd like to read.
Yes, so there is one more question, Maharaj, from Ras Vilasini Radha Mataji. And her question is, here everyone is Shudra. So how do we recognize whether they are Shudra or Kshatriya to engage them in devotional service? Sometimes these...
I mentioned that about 5 times already. There's an educational program. People need education to bring out their education and evaluation. Then they can come to start to realize and practice their swadharma in a connection with devotional service, which becomes Daivi Varnashram. Education. Prabhupada, just listen to Prabhupada's tape. Morning walk, March 14th, 1974. Discussion with Hridayananda Maharaj on this whole thing of Varnashram. All the details. And then Prabhupada expanded on that even further later on. But he gave the whole thing in that 1 hour plus morning walk. It's really clear. March 14th, 1974. Vrindavan. Yeah. Yeah. And then we have this book that was put together by one of our devotees, Krishna Dasi, many years ago, called, this is volume 1, speaking about Varnashram, everything said, at least mostly everything that Prabhupada said about Varnashram. This book is available. It's been reprinted by Bhakti Raghava Swami. I mean, we got all the information, we got all the knowledge. have been given to us in so many different ways. There's so many other books. There's another one by Bhakti Raghava Swami on ashram education. Are we reading these books? If we're interested in Vanashram, and we should be, we should read these books. They're interesting. They give everything. And they quote Srila Prabhupada throughout. And there's another one. There's another one. Implementing Vanashram. There's another one here. I'm getting supplied by my supplier here. Okay. So if we stay in ignorance, then there's no excuse. The leaders are taking so much time to put all this information into literary form so we can read and understand it and also practice it. Everything is given by Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada
Mataji
was
saying,
tireless. Huh?
sorry, Maharaj. Mataji is saying that yes, I got my answer.
Okay, good. Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Must be less. Okay, I was given some text to read here. This is somewhat parallel to what we're just speaking about. If there's no more questions, I'll read it. It's by Bhishma Dev. It's coming from the Mahabharata in the section called the Bhishma Gita. Should I read it? It's interesting.
Yes, please, Maharaj. There is no question here, so please.
Bhishma gives a lot of practical things for us to really understand what to do and what to avoid. Here it says, and it's a question led by Maharaj Yudhisthira, and he's talking to Bhishma. How should one act so that he can verily easily pass his journey through life? How should one act so that he can very easily pass his journey through life? In reply, Bhishma advised, my dear king, a person who wants to avoid putting himself into great difficulty should carefully avoid performing 3 acts with his body. And these 3 acts are the killing of other living entities. That means all living entities, not just humans. 2, stealing. In other words, usurping another person's property. That's also another form of stealing. 3, the enjoyment of others' wives. These 3 things one should avoid by his body. Killing other living entities, stealing, the enjoyment of others' wives. We don't enjoy others' wives, but people, they interact so much, like ladies go to work in offices and they're working for these men who are not their husbands, they're just the employers. And these guys are looking at these ladies, and sometimes something happens. It happens, it's like a regular affair. That's why one of the things that I emphasize is that women should not work in the workplace. They should become ideal housewives, ideal mothers, ideal home care, taking care of the home nicely. This will give strength to the man within the family and will build a family tradition. The mother is the backbone of the family. When she's out working for money in the society, she's compromising her position as a mother and as a wife in order to get some pecuniary things which, people say, well, it's necessary to live today. But is it necessary to sacrifice our qualities and our chastities and our actual worth within society in order just to get money? Everybody's chasing money. We don't care. Just get money. Money's the honey. Okay, so yeah. So everyone's enjoying another person's wife either subtly or grossly. That happens all the time. In addition, one should meticulously avoid 4 acts of speech. Okay. So now he goes from body to speech. 1, conversations about sinful activities. 2, the utterance of harsh and offensive words. 3, advertising the faults of others. 4, lies. These are the 4 things that one should avoid by way of speech. Sinful activities, harsh and offensive words, talking about others' faults, lies. The third one, 3 acts of the mind that should be vigorously avoided. 1, coveting others' possessions, disbelief in the Vedas, thoughts of injuring others. Coveting others' possessions. Boy, I really wanted to get that. They got it. Boy, I'd like to have it. Or doing something to actually attain it. Not believing in the Vedas. Thinking that the Vedas are hyperboles, eulogies, exaggerations, or some stories that have been formulated in order to teach us a particular message. Thoughts of injuring others. So here, not just injuring others, but not even thinking about injuring others. And then it concludes by saying, if a person acts in these ways, he will traverse the path of life as easily as possible. This is from Mahabharata, Bhishma Parvaka. And I thought I'd add that to the discussion here. This is also part of Varnashram, a very big part. Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj. This was really, really very, very useful and very powerful. So, Maharaj, it's already 21 past 1, like 21 minutes over the hour. There are no further questions from devotees. Should we close now, or?
There's no more questions. Yeah, we can end here and we'll be back tomorrow.
Jai. So thank you very much, Maharaj, for this amazing, really, really powerful messages and inspiring learnings. Thank you, devotees, for joining this session. Shrimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki jai.
I would humbly
Thank you very much for
suggest,
today.
I would humbly suggest what we hear within this hour and 20 minutes is also recorded. It's nice to revisit a lot of these points and think about them. And then that way these points will become more clear and you'll see how it relates to you also. It's nice to listen. Repetition is the king of obtaining knowledge.
So, Maharaj, these sessions are being recorded on YouTube, and all the recordings are available just after the class. But I think your point is more on the reflection, like listening again and then reflecting those points.
Yeah. It's not much how much you hear, it's how much you absorb. Absorption comes by repetition. And through absorption, one gets realization. And through realization, one starts to practice. And through practice, one develops those qualities that are conducive for performing devotional service.
Sure. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Thank you very much for today. Hare Krishna.
Adibo.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisance.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Glories to
Thank you,
Srila
Guru Maharaj.
Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Dandat Pranam.
Thank you,
Praise
Guru
it.
Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Jai Ho.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.